Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your elevated creativity, more joy, and prosperity. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been living an intuitive life for decades as a creative. That translates to transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 27 years through two businesses as a business strategist and a life designer. And prior to that, an entertainment publicist and talent manager. Follow Your Joy is an entrepreneurial resource for creatives sharing their challenge to victory stories through the lens of listening to their intuition. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic for you, but you will live the beautiful life meant just for you. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. All right. Well, hello, creatives. Today's topic is very close to my heart. Something I've had a fascination with for years. And I have several close, as in high school best friend, and current very close girlfriend, whose lives center around horses and their beautiful spiritual, energetic powers, which is what I find so fascinating, being very metaphysical myself. I love their innate leadership traits. I love that they teach us how to be true to ourselves. Like, there is no BS with horses. You cannot at all pull anything over their eyes. And the beautiful thing too that I aim to learn, who knows, maybe I'll end up in one of your sessions, is how to live within a community, the herd, right? While taking care of each other. It's like this community thing. It's so amazing. So, in fact, one of my first long-term business coaches, it was back in 2009 to 2016, she is and was a horsewoman. And her first iteration of her coaching, right, was using her horses on her ranch. It was leadership retreats for women. Kendall Summerhawk is her name. And her book, Brilliance Unbridled, or I should say, Unbridled, was also fascinating. Remember, it was the first thing I read of hers, and it was all about the metaphors of, boundaries and your power and courage, and through the lens of horse wisdom, right? And she would often say, my horses have generously taught me most of what I've learned and know about myself. And it just, God, this is so amazing. So I want to welcome Sue Willoughby of Willoughby Coaching. Welcome to Follow Your Joy.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here today.
Welcome. And I want to give a little bit of background here and some important info I pulled off your website. So hang in there. We'll jump into our conversation. Meanwhile, just receive the accolades. So Sue comes from the same philosophy that I just shared about Kendall. In purpose. And she is a transformational life coach for women over 50 and a newly rebranded. I love the title, Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. This is terrific. And she uses, of course, the immersive Equus. Is that how you pronounce it correctly?
Equus.
Equus. Thank you. Equus method, right? To help women gain insight into what I've been saying, leadership, communication, personal growth, while embracing and learning how to bring in the non-verbal, right, communication and the self-awareness when they're engaging with the horses. Just brilliant wisdom, like I said, with horses. So, yeah, here, in other words, I'm gonna give you a little more clarity here. On Sue's website, she emphasizes guiding you from burned out and boxed in to resilient, radiant, and unshakable. I'll take that, thank you. Through experiential equine assisted life coaching. So I want to share this excerpt, Sue, from your website, and I think it will really help our guests even understand better why horses, right? And that is, it's why partnering with horses is not only a good idea for change in your life, but it could be possibly life-saving. That's for sure. And what she writes is horses can't mask their true instincts or tell stories to justify their actions. They don't dwell on the past or fantasize about the future. Horses are prey animals. Their only survival mechanism is raw instinct and being present in the moment. Boy, we need to learn that. They use all their senses simultaneously to monitor their surroundings, assess their safety, and communicate with other members of their herd. When horses interact with humans, we become part of their herd. They use these same senses to connect intuitively, yay, with us on a biological, emotional, and spiritual level. Like I said, the spirituality horses love that, and provide a clear reflection of our true inner being. Man, that's just incredible. Horses can sense our personal incongruence, right, and help guide us to a state of present grounded awareness. When we are able to align body, mind, and heart, we learn to unravel the stories and break down the limiting beliefs that block us from living a life worth being. Is that good? Ladies and gentlemen, that is what Sue does. And that's really incredible. So I also, Sue, I want to, and I'll, bring this up in our conversation. I want to talk about your Rescued Hearts film screening because I have been following them for over a year on Instagram, with again my fascination with horses, and I know following that whole platform and their movement. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I go to your Instagram and you actually sponsored a screening in August. I'm like, yeah. So we need to talk about that too. We need to talk.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. So terrific. Let's move into this. So of course, let's give a little bit of highlights of what happened, right, with you that brought you and your life to horses, right? And then, of course, Willoughby Coaching.
That's a great question. And thank you for that. Amazing. I'm just kind of blown away that I was like, oh my God, that's me. Wow. So, like you said, just sit there and take in the accolades. And okay,
Okay.
I did. That was a lot. Wow. I'm impressed with myself now.
I know. As you should be.
Thank you. Wow. So, yeah, how I got to horses, I think all little girls have horse phases, and some grow out of it and some don't. And mine, I was no different. I loved them. I would stare at them as a little kid, and they'd be in the pastures. And, my first little pony ride was a disaster. The pony threw me off on the way back to the barn,
Oh,
and I ended up in poop, and my mother had a heart attack. It's like, ah. And I was just sitting there going, yes, again, let's do that again, because that was a blast. And then as I got older, of course, I wanted horseback riding lessons, and we didn't have a lot of money. And but I would beg my mother to take me to the barn and just leave me there. Just leave me here. I'm good. Just, the family that owned the barn had like 6 kids, so I was just another mouth, right? To feed. I was like, I would just be there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's that other kid that."
Sue again. Yeah.
But I would help out around the barn and all of that stuff, and I didn't realize how important it was to me at that time, but I did know that it felt really good because my home life wasn't exactly perfect. My mom was an alcoholic, and my parents split up when I was around 10 or 11. But, you know, which was a blessing, right? They should have done it a lot sooner, but still, you do what you got to do.
Yep.
And so when I would go to the barn, it was my happy place. And I didn't care. I grew up in upstate New York, and I didn't care if there was 3 feet of snow on the ground or, whatever it was, just being around the horses, and in the wintertime, they were big and fuzzy and just I wouldn't care. I didn't care. And so I spent a lot of time with horses. And then as I got older, and my mom and I moved from upstate New York to Connecticut, and as we were pulling into the apartment complex that we were moving into, I noticed across the street there was a riding stable. Well, I'll tell you, the car was not even stopped before I was out the door across the street, begging the grizzly old guy to let me clean stalls for the privilege of riding horses. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever, come on over. He wasn't that old, but he was a little grizzly for sure. uh so that's what I did every single day after school. I was at the barn cleaning stalls and getting bit and kicked and getting to ride, and it was all fun. And then a lot of times I would skip school and go over to the barn unbeknownst to my mother, who would leave for work early. So I spent a lot of time with the horses. But once again, it just felt good to me, and I just loved being around them. And I didn't entirely understand why until a little bit later on in life. And I volunteered at a summer camp for individuals with special needs. Um, in their horseback riding program, and it was therapeutic riding, and I had no idea what that was. I was like, well, this is cool. I'll just go do this for the summer, quit my real job and go do this and hang out at summer camp and be with the horses and sweat and flies and everything. And also, but seeing you know individuals with mental disabilities and physical disabilities, and connecting with the horses on a level that they couldn't connect with humans on. And I was like, I started to get it. I was like, okay, there's something here. But once again, I'm like 19 years old. I'm douche. So, but horses have followed me, and they've always been in my life, come into my life, or I've, somehow, when I needed them most, and I didn't even realize it, they would just be there, things find you. And
Yeah.
if you are aware and open, you let it in. And I let them in always.
Mm.
And
Oh.
then, yeah,
So when did you figure out you wanted to monetize that to a business?
that's a good question. I volunteered as an adult once and I moved to Washington State. Over 30 years ago, I got involved with an actual therapeutic riding center in their volunteer. I trained the volunteers. I just volunteered to work in the program and so forth. And then I thought, I really love being, but I didn't want to be a riding instructor
Yeah,
as a
no.
therapeutic riding instructor. I wanted to be with the horses. So I went into equine massage first
Oh.
and learned to work with the horses and hold space for them, which was also kind of part of my spiritual journey and energetic journey, and
Mhm.
holding emotional and energetic space for these beings that really, they compensate for us in so many ways. In riding, they're really just big athletes, and their bodies will compensate for our imbalances, our physical imbalances, and sometimes our emotional imbalances, right? So being able to work with them on an energetic level and body work was a different way to connect with them than I ever had. And that was
Mm.
also then when I started to realize, okay, there's a lot here. And I grew through that connection with them emotionally. And somehow the universe brought the idea of coaching. I don't know if I saw something about it, and I got in touch with, at the time, it was the Coel Institute, Coel Simpson. Um, and that was a coaching institute. And now it's Center for Equus Coaching. And, you know, I like to follow a jagged path because I don't ever go in a straight line. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I went all over the place. And the universe led me to one of the instructors who was also in the Seattle area. And I met with him, eventually got into the program. And once I was in there, I was like, the light bulb just exploded. It didn't just turn on. It was like, I get it now. All of this stuff that's been happening to me or that or that I've experienced in life and
Yeah.
being around horses, all the dots started to connect. And I was
Okay.
like, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it now.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. And
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, you answered my next question because well,
That was a really long answer. I'm sorry.
no,
Podcast is
it was
over.
it was perfect. Yeah, no, it was perfect because I'm always looking for the common thread.
Hmm.
I'm looking for, and you worded it, the connecting of the dots, right?
Hmm.
Because our lives, and I think I heard this probably from Oprah, some years ago, but our lives are never out of order.
Hmm.
Our lives are never out of order because, as we know, especially living metaphysical lives, is that, one thing leads to the next. And when you stand back and that light bulb moment that you had in the coaching, oh, that's why as a little girl I went boom, on and on and on.
Hmm.
So yeah, because part of me too was thinking, I wonder what her past lives were. It's
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
what was going on in your past lives that now this life you're all about horses. And something else, which obviously we'll be talking about. So I love it. Connecting the dots. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you had Willoughby coaching?
Oh gosh, I don't about 5 years maybe.
5 years?
Hmm.
Okay.
Somewhere
Wow.
around there,
Good. Love that.
something like that.
So, okay, the theme of the podcast is follow your joy. Follow,
Check that box.
check that box. Follow your joy. And I tend to lean on several meanings of that.
Mm,
One is follow your joy is a life strategy. It's not just a feel good. It's literally a life strategy. And I also like to say it's where success leaves clues.
mhm.
Is pay attention to what brings you joy,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
especially all of us, and since we're talking to obviously entrepreneurs, I want you all to monetize your joy, right? That's what we're here for. So the question is, since success left clues for you, follow your joy.
Mhm.
What today brings you the joy in what you do?
You know, so many things. Animals are my joy, all of them. I think I shared with you before we got on that 2 days ago, I lost one of my little joy
No,
members.
no.
And,
It's
you
a
know,
tribute to you,
his name was Benny.
Benny. It's a tribute
Yeah.
to you, little.
Yeah.
I
Little
know
sweet
you're
boy.
hearing us. I know you're with us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but just, I feel so grateful that I have the privilege to be around animals, of all kinds, but horses especially, and bring that experience to people that might not understand it, might not understand themselves, and the
Mhm.
horses can help with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that how lucky am I to, sometimes I'll just be standing out in the field and I live in outside of Seattle, down in Mount Rainier. If you're familiar with Mount Rainier, it's a big peak, not far from Enumclaw, Washington, where I live. And I'll be standing out in the pasture with Moose. That's my horse. His name is Moose. He's a
And
moose
moves
as
the
well.
horse.
Moose the horse. Uh, he's a big fella. Uh, and, the sun is out and the skies are blue. And I'm painting this goofy picture, but it's the truth. And Mount Rainier is in the background and he's just grazing quietly. And I'm like, this is my life. This is my life that I connected the dots and made it happen and followed my joy, as you said.
Yeah, that's it. Animals, animals, and
Hmm.
how they also, impact humans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They
That's,
do.
yeah. It's again, it's taking your, passion, your purpose,
Hmm.
and impacting humanity with it. And it happens to include horses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's a very beautiful thing. It really is. It's very special.
I'll say, yeah, definitely agree with that. So, all right, let's talk about then intuition, which is connected to the joy, right?
Hmm.
Because with, when we're listening to, and this is one of my biggest platforms in what I do and how I coach, how I live, is our intuition needs to be our first sense, not our sixth, right?
Hmm.
And when we lean on our intuition first, not our logic, and allow the logic and practicality and actions and you name it help carry out the intuitive direction rather than it lead it, because what it does is it hijacks our intuition,
Yes. I was just going
right?
to say that. Yeah.
It does. There's a time and place for our beautiful brains to be there. The logic and the practicality and the function and the linear and all that. Intuition is not that time, right? And these are
Mhm.
the things I like to really emphasize. So when we're listening to our intuition, it's going to either be something joyful, right? Or it's going to be something that's kind of a yellow light that says caution, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So joy and intuition, go together. So let's talk about how you use intuition, not only obviously in your life, but in your business, because it's intricately involved with what you do. You
Mhm.
can't do this energy work without your intuition. Right.
Right.
So, yeah, talk to us about that and how you use that for business.
That is a great question. And horses are really good at helping you get in touch with your intuition. And as you said, the mind is a beautiful thing, and but it can definitely squash your intuition and override it or try to. There's been many times when I've let it take over, and then I'm like, yeah, I should have done that thing, or the coulda, shoulda, wouldas come in, and they're like, we told you so.
That's right.
I can give you a really funny example, but I'll save it. But so when I work with horses, and I think horses have really helped me to bring my intuition to fruition, I should say,
Yeah.
because as you stated, they are prey animals,
Yeah.
and they being around them helps inform you about being in the moment because that's all horses
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, they may have been traumatized in their past, and they you may have to get, but for the but their beings are in the moment, and that's what they know because they're prey animals, like you said, and they need to know: Am I safe? Am I safe with you? Are you? What kind of vibe are you putting off there? Because
Mhm.
and so when I'm working with a client and they're with a horse, let's face it, we all have facades that we put up.
Yep.
And the horse is like, they don't see that. They're like, I feel you. I don't just see you. I don't care what kind of car you drove up in. I don't care how much those cowboy boots are that you bought to come here and be with me because I know you wanted to look like a cowgirl. It's okay. But they don't care about any of that. They don't understand that. What they understand is that heart connection. They can sense our breathing, our heart rate, our all of that. So if we're trying to put up a front that maybe we're not afraid or that we have some agenda, the horse is like, you can take that agenda and you can put it right over there in the poo pile because I don't care what your agenda is. I know what's really going on with you.
Mm.
So when I work with people and myself also, this is funny. When I first started my coaching training with the horses, we did a lot of the course we started a lot of the courses online, and then we had on sites.
Hmm.
And being a horse gal and thinking that I know all about horses and everything, my first coaching session where I was being coached by one of our instructors, the horse was like running around the round pen and just like not settling down or anything like that. And I went in there thinking I can get this horse to do whatever I want. Guess what? It's not about that. The horse was like reading me like a cheap novel. The horse is like, you are not grounded. You, settle down, girl, because it's not about
Wow.
that. And it was funny because my instructor was like, how's this session going for you? And I'm like, not how I anticipated it was gonna go. So the horse was
Wow.
just mirroring what was really going on inside me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was nervous. I wanted to perform a certain way. I wanted to show them I knew what I was doing. And I
Oh,
was
you're
like,
from ego.
and yeah, and it was, and I said, it's not about that, is it? And they're like, yeah, no, it's not. Okay, thanks. Thanks for
Mhm.
that slap of clarity, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
That life lesson.
right.
Yeah.
So learning to trust what's going on inside, because whenever we have a reaction, an emotion, anything, right? Something triggers us,
Yeah.
someone cuts you off in traffic or whatever, you react. You react from your ego, you react from your brain, you react from whatever. But before it gets up there,
Mm,
it's in your body.
yeah.
Like, I was thinking about the grief that I was feeling
Yeah.
the past few days. And, where was it sitting in my body? Well, it was sitting in my chest, and it felt like moose was sitting on my chest,
Yeah.
and it just felt so heavy. And my body just felt like it was like weighed 1,000 pounds. And that's the somatic, feeling. That's the physical feeling. And all of those emotions and everything, all of that stuff, all those stories, all those beliefs, everything lives in our body, and it lives in there in in a physical sense.
Mm,
And we can, if you stop and get quiet and ground yourself. Problem with getting quiet is it gets really loud, right?
yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to turn up the volume on what's really going on.
Mhm.
So intuition, I feel myself, comes from within, comes from my
Yeah.
body.
That's right.
And I don't know if you are delve into human design or anything.
I know
If
of it, but
you're
I,
a little
yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, anyway, I'm a projector. I thought I was a generator. I was acting like a generator, which means I had my own source of energy. I clearly don't. I'm a projector. I have to wait to be invited in, right? I'm also a splenic projector, which means that I'm getting intuitive hits in my spleen all the time.
Huh.
And they
Interesting.
can change and have me change direction. And all of this stuff makes sense because I am very tuned into things that present themselves to me. And sometimes it looks like I'm Ricochet Rabbit or I have ADHD, which I very well might have. I don't know. Uh, but I can be pulled in different directions. But a lot of it comes from curiosity, and a lot of it is just my body and I'll be like, oh my God, that's a really cool opportunity. I should take advantage of that. And it's like, well, nope, I guess it wasn't that great. But at least I was like enough to initiate curiosity
Yeah.
about it because I got an intuitive ping about it.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
that's kind of how intuition works for me. I was
Yeah.
like, you're sorry you asked, right? I was all
Well,
about that.
no, I expected it to be pretty in depth. I mean, again, because what you do is it's all about intuition.
Yeah,
The horses would never allow you to do anything other than that.
right. Yeah,
That's their language.
it is. It is. And their language is, nonverbal communication, like you said, and it's very heart centered.
Yeah.
And all they're doing, and this is one thing that we can understand too, horses are just processing information.
Yeah.
They're taking everything in through all of their senses
Yeah.
and they're just processing it. Am I safe? Do I need to get out of here? What are my herd mates doing? You know, and
Mhm.
like you said, when we are in their presence, we are part of their herd.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it's anything that's again a bit of energy.
Hmm.
Whew, love that. So, give an example, or I should say, a story of when you listen to your intuition and you created a positive result in your life. We're not talking now just business, we're talking life.
Hmm.
When did Sue honor that intuitive hunch and pivot?
I've done a lot of pivoting. I should have
I'm
been a
sure.
basketball player.
I know she's like, I should be in basketball by this time.
They wanted me to play basketball when I was in high school because I'm 5'10", and I was like, I don't want to. That's too
Oh,
much work. I
I
don't want
know.
to do that.
I'd rather do the energetic body pivots, you know.
I wish I was that advanced when I was in high school. I clearly was not.
Cute.
So when did I listen to my intuition? I can tell you lots of times when I didn't, and I should have. But I will give you a couple of examples. I think one one big one that made a big life change for me was I was in a relationship. I met someone and they offered me the opportunity to move across country with them. And that's how I ended up in Seattle. That's
Mm,
how and I was like, sure, why not?
yeah.
Okay, let's just do that
One
because
coast to
why
the
not?
next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that put me in a different place around different people that were challenging me. I was not being challenged, and this is going to sound arrogant, but sometimes I'm a little too smart for my own good, and when left to my own devices, I make bad choices, right? So I was really good at making bad choices and being around people that weren't challenging me in a positive way. So
Sure.
this gave me the opportunity
Mm,
to move 3,000 miles away, get out of the place where I was and basically start a new life. And it
mm,
really did make me, it made me a different person.
mm.
It opened up a lot of doors for me, which I'm, I'm happy to go through an open door,
Yeah.
you know?
So you were in corporate America in New York?
No, when I was in Connecticut,
Connecticut.
I was in retail and I was basically just, I hated it. I
Yeah.
hated it. Like,
Yeah.
so when I moved to Seattle, I went into retail again, still because it was something that I knew,
Yeah.
but I did have the opportunity to go back to school. Okay, funny story. I quit high school twice.
Nice.
Twice. Well, because you can't if you do it, you don't do it right the first time,
Yeah.
and then you go back and then you have to quit again. So I
Yeah.
had to do that. Yeah. And so I tell you, I was bored. I was literally bored in school. So I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I got my GED before my high school class even graduated. So I'm like,
Yeah. Sure.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Bye.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then, but I also knew I wasn't ready to go to college because I just wasn't mature enough. So I was like, okay, I'll just go in and work. And I liked to work. I was busy and, all that stuff. But so I had the opportunity to go back to school and get a degree, and I got a degree in technology, and that just started a whole another, once again, another opportunity,
Hmm.
And then I got into corporate America. Never thought I'd have a six-figure job. And I did. And I was actually doing things that I liked, like all these weird things that I was always drawn to, like filmmaking and communication and technology and all of those things. I ended up in corporate training. And it was right about the time that collaborative online learning was starting out, which we're
Oh,
really,
yes.
really familiar with
Yes.
now, right?
I
No, we're
remember
on
that.
Zoom, for God's sakes.
I remember
I started incorporating, working at a company that was just on the cutting edge of all of that, and learning tools like at the time it was called Centra, and it's kind of like what Zoom evolved into, was the online collaborative learning, and it wasn't this easy. It was, we had our own recording studio, but
that.
all these weird little things that I had picked up along the way. Once again, connecting the dots.
Mm.
And I had a very lucrative corporate career in corporate training and loved it. Um, my getting my private pilot's license, somebody gave this just one. You only wanted one example. I'm sorry.
Well, no,
Uh,
that's okay. What I was also, that's cool. This is a really great profile of you. And that is where in there intuitively did you get into real estate?
so, corporate America. My last corporate training gig was with the Boeing company in flight training.
Okay.
And I just, uh, it was a really sweet gig. Don't get me wrong, but I could not go into that office every day anymore. And I knew that,
Yeah.
but you get stuck with the golden handcuffs, right? And you're
Yep.
like,
Yep.
I got, great income, I get benefits, I got all this stuff.
Holy
And
smokes.
And so when I was a private pilot and had my own plane, I vowed that I would never jump out of a perfectly good airplane until I did. And that
Intuitive.
was I had been going to real estate investment meetings and kind of getting into that world and had
Yeah.
gotten my real estate license for so that I didn't have to write so I could write my own offers on
Yeah.
investment
Sure.
properties and so forth.
Mm.
So all my investor buddies were like, "Hey, why don't you go skydiving with us?" And I'm like, "Okay."
Wow. Well,
So and I knew that I was getting ready to leave my corporate job. And so I went skydiving and then, gave my 2 week notice and I'm like, I quit. And they're like, what do you mean you quit? I'm like, why would you do that? I'm like, because I can't be here anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
My intuition is nudging me, prodding me to
It's
get the heck out of here.
it's pushing me out of airplanes,
It's pushing you out of airplanes so you will finally get out of your own skin.
right?
So that's what got you to then move into real estate, get
Yeah.
out of corporate. Yeah,
Yeah.
start
Yeah,
doing that.
exactly.
Okay. Because that's going to have a lot to do with then what you're going to offer my audience here. Terrific. So how long have you been then in real estate? Mm.
So now I've moved into more of a mentorship role over a decade of real
Okay.
estate experience. And so now I moved into more of a mentorship role. And I also teach real estate to pre-licensed people individuals that are going through they have to go through a 90-hour clock hour classes and stuff. So I teach online uh, in the state of Washington. So I'm licensed real estate agent in the state of Washington and licensed real estate instructor. So, uh,
Look at that.
which is kind of fun because, I get to, once again, it's training, it's teaching, it's mentoring. So
Right.
I love that. That's my
Yeah,
jam.
it is. Yeah.
Hmm.
And you've just taken topics that obviously light you up. Between
Hmm.
horses and life coaching and real estate, you can teach both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fabulous.
Hmm.
Good, good. I love that. Okay. Let's see. So before we finish up here, talk to me. Let's talk about rescued hearts. So
Mm.
I know, boy. Yeah, when I started, in fact, I found Rescued Hearts by watching the woman that the story is based on out in, is it Australia?
Oh, Candace. Yes. Candace.
Candace,
Yes. Hmm.
right? And I was following her because she's doing the energetic work with the horses out on her Australian
Her
forest,
ranch. Yes. Her
ranch
gorgeous
forest,
ranch. Yeah.
whatever that is. And I was
Actually, she's in South Africa.
South
She's South
Africa.
African. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Why did I think it was Australia?
Because she has a beautiful accent.
No. Okay.
Maybe.
Sounds like Australian. Well, South Africans and Australians definitely sound very, very similar. Anyway, point is, it just was mesmerizing to watch these Instagram reels. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, where she was, explaining about rescued hearts, I go, what is that?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I went over to theirs and I went, oh my God, what are they doing here? This is amazing. So, how did you get involved with the filmmakers and decide to do a screening?
Well, like you, I stumbled upon one of their Instagram feed or something, and I'm like, oh my God, they're doing what I do. And I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're documenting what the work that we do with horses and all of that. And I just started getting involved, and I sent an email and I said,
Yeah.
hey, I would
Yeah.
love to have you on my podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and Dana replied right back directly. She's the producer. Chris Anna's the director and the filmmaker.
Yeah.
But they made it together. So Dana, she said, we're really kind of in the throes of things, and we're still filming. And can we wait until we're about ready to
Yeah.
release? And I said, sure, that's fine. And then at that time, we had scheduled, we wait until May. Dana came on my show. Chrisanna was in the throes of editing the movie so that it could be released at the
On festival.
Santa Barbara Film
Yeah.
Festival. Yes,
Yeah.
and the Illumination Film Festival. And so Dana came on and we had a beautiful conversation. And, at the end of the conversation, we're just like, we were like, we're just going to be friends. We just know we're going to be friends.
Right.
So I flew to Santa Barbara. I got tickets to the film festival, and I flew to Santa Barbara and met them in person. And
Nice.
I let them know that I was coming, but it was funny because I had not met Chrisanna, and I was standing outside the theater, and Chrisanna came out and she walked by and she's like, oh my God, I know you, but I don't know you.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, we just really connected on a very heart-centered level. And I had sponsored a couple of, their little, there's, mini screenings that they had and stuff like that. And, we just kept in touch. And then after the Santa Barbara Film Festival, I had them both on my podcast. So there's two episodes with them on,
Nice.
and it was just an amazing conversation once again. And then I was like, you know what, I want to host an event, and they're like, really? I said, yes, I do. And so just last month, I had one in my little hometown of Enumclaw. We had a beautiful turnout. Um, the beauty of the way they're releasing the film is through community screenings, and I was able to screen the entire film. Um, a lot of community screenings were only the first hour of the film, and we had the entire film. I was fortunate enough to be able to bring that to
Wow.
the Seattle area, and it's there. They hold space for the audience afterwards because it is a very intense film.
Mm.
There's so many topics that come up that, are very intense.
Yeah.
And, without going into being descriptive about the topics that come up,
Mm.
but it's so beautifully shot. And the way the story is told, they're amazing storytellers.
Mm.
And it was just incredible. And then, I got to hang out with them for a couple of days. I'm actually going to LA next weekend
Oh.
for the Lady Filmmaker Film Festival. They're going to be screening there.
Oh. Didn't
And
know
the
about
20, and
this.
it's screaming, it's screaming in LA.
Yeah.
It's being screened in LA at the Lady Filmmaker Film Festival on the 27th.
Lady filmmaker?
Hmm.
Okay.
And there
Film
might still be
festival?
some tickets left. Yeah, it's the 27th.
Okay.
Uh, and and that's actually my birthday. And then Dana's birthday is the 29th.
Ah,
So we're gonna have a little LA birthday
wow.
celebration. Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness. Well, happy birthday on that. And gosh, I'm gonna look at my calendar and see if I can go.
Yeah, you should. I mean, and there's other screenings around. I went back to Santa Barbara last month for another screening, and that was sort of in tandem with Freedom Reigns, which is a big equine sanctuary outside of the Santa Barbara area.
Yeah.
And they're just Dana and Chrisana are the most amazing women I've ever met in my life, and they are just incredible. So if you ever have anybody listening, if you ever have the opportunity to attend a screening, a community screening where they're going to be there, go. Just go. That's all I gotta
Yeah.
say is just go,
Just, yeah,
because
go.
it's a whole nother level. And that's
Wow.
why, they it's like a movement. It's not just a movie. So
It
it's
definitely is a movie.
brilliant.
I mean, that's why I was really drawn to it. And
Mhm.
it's funny is, and you maybe you do this too, obviously with your podcast. I literally after I signed up for their newsletter and was getting all their announcements, and what was happening. And I went, I got to get them on my podcast. So they're still on my list.
Yeah.
So I definitely would love to have them on the podcast
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, they're amazing. And like I said, they're just, the way that they're rolling out the film is just very strategic, and they care about the film. It's a personal story, right?
Yeah,
It's Dana's personal story as well as many other people's personal
sure.
stories.
Yeah.
And they care about how the film is seen. I mean, you know, yeah, you can just go out and sell it to somebody, and then it might end up in the pile somewhere and on
No.
some screening platform, right? But they're
Yeah.
like, we're not doing that. We
No.
this is our legacy. So
Well, and it's all in alignment with the whole theme of community.
absolutely, absolutely. The community screenings, I've been to enough of them now, and it's just
You
every
have.
screening has their own energy,
Yeah.
and but the energy is big and it's real and it's vulnerable and it's beautiful, and it brings people together in
Yeah.
ways that we need now more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's coming from a kind of also a alignment and branding. It's like being that the whole horse thing is about community, about herds, right?
Hmm.
About the community healing, if you will.
Yeah.
Their, delivery is through community screenings. So
Hmm.
I think it's absolutely appropriate for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, well, thanks for that. I'll definitely look that up.
You
And
can tell I'm very passionate about the movie.
oh, as you should. I mean, come on. It wasn't surprising to me to see that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Go, of course she hosted a screening of Rescued Arts. I'm like, and it was just last month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was very, very appropriate for you. Yeah, love that. Terrific. Well, my dear, this week, as you can tell, we can probably go on and on and on. Love this subject. And yeah, it's been a delight with you.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And obviously I could talk about this stuff all day, and but I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, thank you. And my creatives out there, hope you are definitely, taking to heart some of this really amazing content. So, couple things is before we hop off is what would you like to offer my audience?
Well, as we talked about before, knowing that I have spent over a decade in real estate, and my ongoing love for podcasting, both as a host and as a guest, I am bringing a new course to real estate professionals. Um, and it is podcasting for real estate pros. And it is a free 21 episode podcast with a downloadable workbook. And, whether even if you're not a real estate agent or professional, you can still listen to this podcast and get so many amazing tips about starting your own podcast if you're a midlife entrepreneur. So there you go.
Well, that's how you then kind of bridge the two.
Yeah,
Is that whether you're
absolutely.
a midlife woman looking for your next chapter,
Yeah,
right? Or you're a real estate, you're interested in real estate, they both go together.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
terrific. Okay, so we'll have that, in the show notes and the where you're going to go, everybody, is, and this is something somewhat new as of May, June of this year, is the portal of joy. All right, so let me quickly share what that is. My team and I added something special to the Follow Your Joy podcast, which is where we highlight, you sign, move right in, sign up, you opt in to have access to the portal of joy, which we are featuring select, it's not everybody, select guests that have very high value free gifts. And of course, Sue's will be in there. And so all you have to do is there's a link in the show notes. You click on that, you sign up to have access to the portal forever. And in there will be Sue and a host of other podcast guests, right, with their free gifts. Okay. So you can download Sue's there. Okay. Beautiful. I love that. So where can they reach out to you? And I'll have this in the show notes too. Where are you other than Instagram?
Yes, my website, willoughbycoaching.com, and Instagram is the place where I am the most. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well, and Sue Willoughby or Willoughby, I think it's Sue Willoughby.
Okay.
But Sue_Willoughby is my Instagram handle. But yes, Willoughby Coaching is a great place to start.
Okay, very good. And they can sign up for your newsletter there and yeah.
Absolutely. And my links to my podcast is there. Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, as you so nicely put it this morning, good Lord, earlier today.
I know earlier. It's okay.
What time is it? Where am I?
What time is it? I know. Yeah, no kidding. So terrific, everyone. You got just a, a large amount of heart-centered content here today. I'm just, I love it. I could continue talking about this. But I hope this landed well with you. Please go visit Sue, go follow her on Instagram. She's got lots of fun stuff on there. She's got her podcast, excerpts on there with a lot of different type of midlife women. She's got the Rescued Hearts screening. I mean, just all sorts of good stuff. So go follow her on Instagram. And of course, sign up for a newsletter, but even more so, this wonderful real estate, learn how to do a podcast. And yeah, thank you again for your time. And everybody, thank you for being here with us. And until next episode, be well and be blessed. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for listening. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my free downloads to up-level your business and your life. And Instagram. It's my favorite place to hang out. Let's connect there. If you received inspiration from the episode, I'd sure appreciate a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Until next episode, take care.